welcome to the NewsX Sunday Guardian Roundtable. Well, as you know, the Supreme Court has recently issued a ban on the sale of liquor around 500 meters from all national highways and also state highways. They, of course, claim that this is to stop drunken driving. But is that the answer? What about the impact on jobs? According to estimates, as much as 1 million jobs are going to be lost because of this ban. Isn't better policing the answer? And of course, to discuss what can be done on this issue, I have with me, joining me on the roundtable, is Rahul Singh. He's General Secretary for the National Restaurant Association of India. And he's really been the face of the opposition to this liquor ban judgment. According to him, this flies in the face of tourism-friendly initiatives that the government has been taking. We have Geeta Luthra. She is a senior advocate. She welcomes the Supreme Court's attempts to do something, but is not quite sure if this is the right answer. We have Mr. PN Vijay. He's a BJP spokesperson. He's also an investment banker, and he's going to be talking also about the impact this may have on the jobs. And of course, we have Shipla Mittal. She lost her 32-year-old brother, Siddharth Sharma, in a hit-and-run case. Her brother was killed by we're not sure the driver was drunk or not, but he was a 17-year-old driving a Mercedes. She, of course, welcomes any move to make our roads safer. I'm going to begin with you, Rahul. We've talked about the impact that this ban would have on the hotel industry and the tourism industry. Can you actually spell out what the impact, what it means?
The impact, downstream impact is still not known, because that's something that you only know once a kind of a catastrophe hits you. So today we don't even complete the 7th day of the hospitality industry. This came on 31st March. The salvo was fired at 6 p.m. We're going to be on our first week anniversary of since something like this has happened. So we are gathering up pieces right now as we speak. We've got 8 or 9 associations. We've all come under. We don't actually have a ministry to report to. It's the most, let's say, employed industry to be in, but we really don't have a ministry. So we have to go to the tourism minister, we have to go to the finance minister,
culture minister,
all kinds of different ministries to actually go up to and figure out how can we, join hands and actually make them, they are stakeholders to us. How do we actually sensitize the issue? So we are around that. So we don't have real numbers, but I can say top of the line, we're talking about 100,000 crores and 1 million people that you already mentioned. So these are numbers which are basically being drawn out of basic back of the envelope numbers.
You talk about the economic aspect, about the Supreme Court. Is this what we would call an activism? I know it's in response to a petition, but to take a step like this?
So the first thing is, what's the purpose? The purpose is to make our roads safer. Now, I think that purpose, of course, is laudatory, but the question is you have to do a cause and effect analysis. We can't just say, apparently Gujarat, there are reports, same number of accidents happen in a place like Gujarat where there is prohibition. Whether the accidents in Bihar are lesser, just where there is prohibition. So I don't think that's correlated. Now, as far as highways and having shops along highways, leave alone liquor shops, I am absolutely against that, because I don't think you see that in any part of the world. Now, that's one aspect. I think so if we address this issue, and I'll separately address the issue whether I think the Supreme Court really wanted to attack the hospitality sector. Very many judges who are retired judges have analyzed, and I myself feel that it wasn't to hit the hospitality sector. It's to attack shops and vends, not restaurants and hotels. That's not the idea. The idea would be vends and people standing outside vends, drinking, coming into the road, drunken driving, that kind of thing. In hotels and restaurants, whether it's 500 meters away or 100, 1 kilometer away, I don't think it's going to make a difference. And I don't think the cause and effect could be correlated. So anything we do, I feel, before it is a proactive judgment, but Supreme Court is making proactive judgments, and that I feel is laudatory, because you'll have some good and some bad. You'll be happy with some, you may be unhappy with others. But if you are overall happy that your Supreme Court is taking proactive steps, then you can't be angry that why did they do proactive in this case, because you're happy with the others. So the question is, would you want this analyzed, that this is something which cause and effect has not been analyzed, and whether it applies to hospitality, hotels and restaurants. I think that's the major issue which we need to address.
Okay. We'll address that issue, but what is your take on this whole order of the Supreme Court? And I've noticed a lot of BJP governments, at least Vasundhara Raje Scindia led the move by denotifying the highways. Captain Amrinder Singh of the Congress has followed shorter.
I agree with the sentiments expressed by both of them. I think they're being very practical and pragmatic. As far as the BJP is concerned, we're of course, we've been highly supportive of the Supreme Court. We feel that they have an intuitive way of trying to do things, which is very nice. For example, on that Bharat 4 fuel, we agreed with them, though the automobile lobby was arranged against us. We felt that, and for example, if even in a case like this, if they sell chemical factories on the banks of the Yamuna, we'll have to shut down. Then we will go for that, even if there are votes which we will lose, because there's a clear cause and effect. These chemicals, this arsenic is coming into Yamuna. But here, unfortunately, no reasonable person is finding a direct cause and effect between this action. That's why it's very difficult to justify it. I'm not poking, wholesale Supreme Court or something. They applied their mind, they came with a solution. But now, where do we go from here?
Right.
I think our governments, as Rahul is saying, is highly sensitive, and any democratically elected government would be very scared of job losses and tourism. And of course, I'm told that about almost 50,000 crores of money of banks and investments is locked up in these places. So we don't want one more bundle of NPA coming in, hitting us. So it's a terrible situation for the governments. And I think we are saying something very, Priya, if Ring Road is NH48, and you stop on South Extension, I think the government has to say, please, these are urban roads, these are district roads. So what we're saying is nothing against the Supreme Court or something. We're trying to do something logical to, but I do feel that it's something very terrible, I think, in terms of repercussions, I think. And again, what she was saying, that I have lived abroad, I have driven on foreign highways. People are driving, 90% of the people enjoy a drink in those countries. But the policing, the patrolling, and if you are caught drunken driving, your license is removed and you're done.
Yeah.
I mean, here you can call some MP or something, and
we're going to call you.
Unless
he calls an Uber himself.
He calls an Uber. That's the way out.
So it's cocking a snooze at the law. I know somebody.
Correct.
So the whole attitude. I think, as they say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yes. On a tangent, Shilpa's brother, who was literally killed by a hit-and-run driver, and the driver is still out, because he knows someone. And it's sorry, I'm going away from the debate, but this is the culture of this knowing someone culture. Shilpa, you've been advocating a lot for safer roads, really. So does this judgment fit in with what you've been asking for?
Yes, very much. I would not like to disagree with everyone sitting here, but at the same time, I really respect the Supreme Court judgment, because see, India is not a country where we actually follow law. It's let's just address it as it is. We like to break law, and we know how to get into the loopholes and get away with it. Now, India needs stricter laws, and I think government has actually brought everybody, the Supreme Court has actually got everybody under one umbrella. Now, I am not personally attacking, but today you are even sitting here and trying to even negotiate with the Supreme Court or anybody because you are under pressure. Now there is a money that is, on stake. Now, so you will try to, maybe come up with some solution, how to, make our roads safer. Maybe you will have a driver's supply after the drinking. You will think about it. But initially, nobody cared. Right. So I think it's overall,
a catalyst that is set.
It's a shock treatment. You feel it's a shock treatment?
Exactly.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's true. And that is how it should be, because we are not a country where we say no drink driving means we are like, oh my God, no drink driving. We are going to do drink driving because I kisi ko janta hu.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I will get away with it. All I need is a phone call.
And anyways, according to the law, what is if you're caught drunk driving, 3 times you're allowed, right?
No, it's not really that. You'll be in trouble right from day one.
Good.
And so, one of the things that I wanted to point out You go to Chandigarh, you go to Maharashtra, to Bombay, you'll find they're very strict. You cannot do an infraction. They can't be drunken driving. So the question is implementation. But to remedy wrong implementation, you can't do a double whammy, because if the implementation is flawed, then it can be flawed on this. Those who are lawbreakers will have their bottles and they will give it from the back door. Those who won't will obey the law. So what you are doing is, if you say your premise is that because people disrespect the law, so we need a law like this, I'm sorry, that's a wrong premise. That's illogical. So what you need is implementation, better implementation, and it's possible. 2 states are doing it. I'm saying 2 states means these are 2 states I know. There may be many states that are doing it.
But I mean, I see her point also, at the extent that, you know, leave alone the highways and drunken driving. See, even the roads, the type of chaos we see on the roads. People, if there's a verge, they'll come on the other direction. So I think it's a much deeper problem, and sometimes some very strong measure.
It's like demonetization.
May be good.
It's like demonetization, she says, well.
Yeah, because unless and until, sorry to interrupt, but unless and until everybody got, you know, attacked, that's when the black money actually came out.
But let's say there is an alternate solution. Would you be for it?
I would be. I would love to, as long as everybody starts. See, we are very used to breaking laws, so it will take a lot of time.
But he has not necessarily right.
Agreed. But now it has got the attention of the nation, is all I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay.
Good. So I think we are in the spotlight, there's no doubt. And I think when we live in a democracy like ours, there is no doubt that, you know, everybody has the right to freedom. Liquor is not prohibited in this country to start with, right? It's an adult choice. Children don't have liquor. Children don't even drive.
Should not be having
Should not be having liquor and shouldn't drive.
Okay,
yes.
so that's it. So when you're a responsible adult, you have to do something in a responsible manner. If you're irresponsible, that's where the law comes in place. If I'm irresponsible, the law has to come in place. That's a fact. That's why laws are made. There are 4 bullies in your school, you don't shut down the school. You rusticate them, you reprimand them, you even have to, you know, terminate them. That is our work. I've lived in a residential school, I've gone through all that. But we never stopped the school. It's a 150-year-old school, still remains. We never shut down the school to start with. Having said that, like I said, I only believe in God. Data has to confess. Okay? Data has to confess. At the end of the day, it's all about data. We talk about numbers without numbers. The numbers speak for itself. Look at the cause of the deaths that are happening on the roads. Okay, and that is something I want to bring to the table right now. It's an important number. Let me just tell you, even one life matters, okay? There is no price. In fact, you know who's put the price for life? The Supreme Court. How have they done that? Because the number of the revenue loss you're asking, that's the price. Life is priceless. Why have you put a price for life? That means you say 100,000 crores is the price for a person. You put a price tag? No, you cannot. Because I'm just saying, so we're not here.
But what's the point you're making?
The point I'm making, sir, is very simple. That do not talk about a single life or 2 lives. Life is precious in all respects. So let's not add numbers of revenues into, you know, what is the better cause? Where are the accidents happening? So if you look at it,
and that is the question.
That is the question.
Where will
so let's say now look at the numbers. Gujarat had 32 drunk driving fatalities.
I got one statistic.
Goa
I got
had
one
zero.
statistic. 1,43,000.
I'll give you the exact number.
1,43,000 people died on highways.
So I'll give you that.
Last year.
Yes, 6,755 died due to drunk driving.
No, see,
I got a figure of 60,000. I got a figure of 60,000.
No, sir.
Which could be directly or indirectly related to, out of the 1,45,000. How do you say it's only 6,000?
No, so
actually,
I'm not saying it's a bargain on numbers.
We're not bargaining. I'm giving you MRTH numbers.
But Rahul, data is not very relevant in this case. You know why? Because the theory is that will this stop or not? You know, it's not because the people are killed on roadways for various reasons.
I'm just saying today,
but is this the right remedy? That is the question.
Okay, the maximum deaths in India happened due to cancer of the lung. It happens due to cholesterol. Anything in moderation is good. I see where
you're going with that argument.
No, hear me out. So anything for human, everything, this is for human consumption, right? Human consumption can have a food and a beverage. It's up to you. Anything in moderation.
But here it's up to you. There, this is the driver who's the drunk driver is not in your hands.
No, he's a human being. He has to be responsible. If he eats a lot of sugar, he will get diabetes. Okay, so it starts from being educated and the awareness. That's one. But if you are not aware, you're talking about this motorist who's either a city motorist or a village motorist. Fair enough. And he's not aware because his education system, his values are all over the place.
I think the drinking has nothing to do with education.
No, not at all. I have never, ever driven after a drink.
It's usually rich kids.
So,
Exactly. In our case, it was a rich kid.
Hear me out.
Most of the
Okay, now tell me,
are the rich kids.
fair enough. So that rich kid, now let's pick that point. That rich kid, let's take him to Sheikh Zayed Road. That same
Rahul,
rich
the
kid.
only good point
Sir,
you
hear me
have
out.
is that
Let's take him to Sheikh Zayed
we
Road.
heard you.
I think
There's no correlation. There's no correlation. What you're saying is,
No, sir, there's a
by banning this, you are not going to solve the problem.
You will not solve the problem at all. Your fear,
That's your only case.
That's where I want to bring in
of law.
Geeta.
The fear of law has to be so much. The deterrence.
That I agree with. The deterrent
Yeah, make the
and
deterrent.
it's
There has
just the right
been income tax, there has been every law.
Every place, sir.
So the first aspect which you are saying, that you are correlating deaths with deaths.
That is how it's been?
No, but see, first your analysis, if you are going to do an analysis, is the number of deaths on the road, the number of deaths due to drunken driving, the number of deaths due to drunken driving which has happened just off the highway, and drunken driving which may have happened a kilometer away. So I think this is not getting us anywhere. One of the points that you made was that you don't shut schools just because you may have some bad eggs. So the question is, if you have bad eggs, what you do, you discipline them. You make sure that there is action so that other people are deterred from doing that.
Deterrence.
You either do deterrence or you do reform.
Both ways.
So once you have to, that's your aim, then the question will be that there have to be signals everywhere that drunken, how we see it on the ways to the hills, but you don't see it on the normal road that drunken driving will be punished. People are just not concerned, and the police is not concerned. You don't have breath analyzing, you don't have these tests, unless a person is afraid there is at least 3 out of 10 chance I'll be caught, or 5 out of 10 chance.
It's as much a problem in city roads as highways.
That's right.
I think
what
her brother died in civil lines, which is very much a part of the city.
So
you know, so it's a bigger problem. So you can't be closing up every hotel or something. You know.
Correct.
Yeah.
in fact, highways are, in that sense, it's easier because the road's so much bigger, the chances of being hit. Whereas in these roads, if people drive as if it's a highway, after they are drunk, it's probably worse. It is much worse.
Highway police could be an answer.
We just want to come back, take a break and come back and try and find out what are the solutions to this. You know, what else can be done apart from this blanket ban of the Supreme Court. So stay with us. Welcome back to the NewsX Sunday Guardian Roundtable. We are here discussing the Supreme Court ban on the sale of liquor 500 meters from highways, whether they're national highways or state highways. In this section, I'm going to be concentrating on what else can be done. You know, is this the right answer? But before I go into it, Geeta, quick question to you. How can this judgment be overturned? Some people are talking about a presidential reference. Is that the answer?
So this, of course, this judgment can't, I mean, you don't overturn it. Okay. You make a legislation whereby you actually, in a sense, go over the judgment. So that's one possibility. The other way is you distinguish between highways and city roads. You change the urban limits and increase the urban limits. Moment you increase urban limits, actually Delhi goes into Noida, Noida goes into, or Delhi goes into Gurgaon, Gurgaon goes into Manesar, Manesar goes into Dharuhera. So you're really able to actually make the Supreme Court judgment apply only to those highways which are just strictly highways which are not near city limits. it won't really harm anyone, and it won't affect your tourism. And the second aspect is, I think someone needs to really carefully analyze and interpret this judgment. It's supposed to be talking, and I believe the petition before the court was attacking vends, liquor vends, and shops. So liquor vends and shops.
Judgment says hotels.
Yeah, so the judgment can't be.
Judgment
doesn't say so, and that's why Justice A.P. Shah, I think there's another no, not Mr. Subramaniam Swamy. There's another Supreme Court judge, the retired judge who has held, maybe Justice Ganguly, I can't remember. Both, and I agree with that. That you cannot bring hotels into liquor vends and shops. And therefore, this judgment's not really applicable. It's not hurting anyone if we interpret it correctly.
No, I think the most important thing is to, at least what our governments are doing, I think is very sensible. In the interim, may say the most common sense thing, that if a national highway is running inside district limits or something, I mean, obviously any death cost there is unlikely to be drunken driving, so stop that. I think, but it's only a makeshift solution. As she says, there are other implications of, but then I think we need to bring a law. And I personally feel, I don't know, we have a lawyer, she may have a better view on this. I think the law, or the job of the Supreme Court is to enforce laws, not to legislate them or to make them. And here there's a de novo law that's been made, which is, I think, quite wrong.
So
if he made a law, they could enforce it or strike it down. But this is a new law they're making, which is, I think, quite wrong.
This is another aspect. This 142, basically this judgment was covered under 142. And on 142, some of the Supreme Court judges, and I think there's a judgment to this, that 142 can only be Supreme Court making orders which are procedural in nature, not substantive. This is one aspect where somebody could perhaps file a curative petition and say that the Supreme Court has erred.
Meeting is for that.
Yes. We've got to meet you after the show and talk. Okay. Let me bring in Shilpa. A better interpretation of the judgment, would you be happy with that? You know, should this apply a blanket ban, or do you think that some way, at least it's got the people talking, as you said?
Yeah, I think as long as everybody who's serving also alcohol takes a responsibility as much as the person who's drinking.
That's a good idea.
That is a good idea.
You know, because if you have a driver service available, for example, it's a very small thing, and you see that the person is alone and he's going to drive back, and you know he has already had 2 or 3 drinks.
Then stop serving him.
You stop serving him, or you tell him that you either now, you know, before you get totally drunk and decide that no, I want to drive the car today, you just make him, you know, have an Uber booked or something like that.
It's impossible to implement, right?
No, I don't think.
I think I've seen that.
This happens abroad. No,
I've seen it abroad.
It happens abroad.
This can only happen if there is a strict law in tandem.
Exactly.
Yeah, because there should be the fear of that.
See, right now, for example, see, as I said earlier also, there's nothing against the hoteliers. I myself use a lot of hotels, but then obviously there's nobody who's bothered, because as long as I'm making the bigger bill, it doesn't matter. Yeah. And I'm allowed to drive.
So you feel there should be some responsibility on the part of the
because obviously the drunk guy, he's not bothered. So maybe somebody, either of two can be responsible.
Okay.
But that's where the hotels and restaurants come in. So that's exactly the the distinction between a vend, and that's exactly what the 15 December order said. Nowhere it was for a licensed place with services. There's a difference between sale and service. Mine is an on-consumption service, which I have some control on, and I'll talk about the controls. But when it comes to a sale out of a liquor vend, first and foremost, a liquor vend...
But do you think your members of your thing would be in a position to control and tell a guy you had 2 pegs enough?
Yes.
Would you be able to?
Absolutely.
Oh,
yes.
you're very good.
No,
so practically in India, it is not so easy. I mean, you need lots of bouncers.
But he's saying, but maybe...
So then the Supreme Court, what they've done is right then, because obviously nobody's going to listen. So let's just back and talk together.
No, there's a lot of social...
You can't...
Okay, let him have the last one.
I'm just saying there's a lot of social responsibility which is already coming. it comes from the person who's consuming as person who's serving. I'll give you, look at the way people have started wearing seat belts. Look at the way people are not using mobile phones. People are using, look at the amount of alternate transport people are using or designating driver. It is a movement. I'm not saying you can change it in a day.
This is how movement
I tell you,
started.
if we will go to cyber hub together
Yes,
now,
sir, right now.
there will be kids of 20, 21 who will be sitting and drinking. Now they can't drink. I tell you,
now they can't serve. They can still
association
drink.
has not
Yeah.
been able to enforce the
They can't serve.
25-year rule. All of us
Always.
know it.
That-
Please don't
sir,
take
it
on
is-
more responsibility.
No,
than
that
you can
responsibility
handle.
is always there. That's part of excise. It's a non-bailable offense for the restaurateur.
Really?
You are, yes.
But it happens.
It
No, but then
happens
that is where
all
the police has
That
to
is
come
where
and
the
take care.
enforcement comes
That's
in.
the
Yeah.
enforcement.
It's enforcement.
Both ways.
On this note, we're going to end up. Basically, what's the way out could be better enforcement, more awareness, and also social responsibility on behalf of those serving also.
Yes,
But as Rahul pointed out, there is a difference between vends and between the restaurants and services. So maybe they should not be included in this ambit. Maybe the better interpretation or the correct interpretation, as Geeta said, can be taken of this judgment. But that's it for now. Thank you for watching this show. We'll see you again same time next week.